Hi,
Hey,
and
welcome to 2020,
first, exactly to 2020 and to our first love bump in the new century. Even though there are people who are saying,
decennium,
yeah, exactly.
century.
I'm not saying I'm before my time, but there are people saying that the decade only starts in like 2021, right? But
2021.
I'm totally one of who is like just right now. There was this clean cut. It's a new century, and we're entering with some news into also in this group. As you probably already have seen, we also are opening the group up now for women who already are in a relationship, but there's something is not like working as they wanted, or especially when they're together with their soulmate. You can be sure a lot of stuff will get triggered, a lot of stuff will come up, and we want to support these people as well, because we can sing a song about exactly these dynamics and situations where, how we could actually take these things to even deepen our relationship.
And it's just cool to be in this kind of vortex together and just to share and to respond on each other and to just hang out.
Exactly.
So that's also cool.
Exactly. So
I don't think anyone is present yet.
we're just going to start, and we'll see if somebody's going to join. I just want to check if I'm in the Soulmate Society online. Sometimes I already had like this phase when I constantly went like online on my profile, like personal profile, and I actually wanted to go up like live in a group, and I was like, oh my god, had to stop and like put it on the right place. But I think I'm here in the Soulmate Society. Yes, exactly. So what are we going to talk about today, baby?
We are going to talk about, are you held hostage by your past?
Exactly. And oh my god, I wanted to be prepared. Give me a second, because I actually have to say much more than we're going to say, and we're going to make a sequel of this video of this hostage by the past, because I'm reading the following book. I'm going to like swiftly run there, get it for you, because I want to show you.
And back she is.
This book by Dr. Valerie Rain. It's the Patriarchy Stress Disorder book, and I'm learning. I just started this weekend. I'm half through it with it, not totally, but I think the main message in the book is so powerful, and I really want to address this. And I really think every woman who can read English, probably you all can in this group, should read that book. It's really groundbreaking, and I really would love to talk more about it, but today we're going not to talk about that book, but just like already spoiler alert, we're going to make a second video about the past, about how we are being held hostage in our past, like concerning this book. It's really amazing. Go and get it. Okay, so but today we're going to talk about like the thing that we already have prepared, something that's also very, very powerful. And maybe we can start off by sharing a story from ourselves that happened, I think, around 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
Maybe you want to start sharing what happened then.
I'm actually not sure what the whole item was about and what we were talking about and what happened before I made the most disturbing remark ever made in this world.
No, I don't think so.
I know, but it definitely had a deep impact on Priska, because at one point I was saying that I was disappointed in her, and this had an incredible impact on Priska.
Yeah,
maybe you can share.
Yeah, I think it was about like, but you actually wanted to express that you expected me to be different in a certain way, but we already were in this heated discussion, and believe me, we had many of them. But we were in this discussion, and at one point, I just heard these words, "I'm disappointed in you," and like just everything faded. I was like a wall was closing down. He kept talking, probably to like also, explain why, and that it wasn't meant to be something very bad, and also that he had wrong expectations or something, but I couldn't even hear him anymore. All I just heard, like it was hammering through my head, is like, you're a disappointment, like I'm disappointed in you. And like the next thing I remembered is like this pain also in my chest and the throat, and I was hanging over the loo, like vomiting my guts out. That was the next thing. And this is really a miracle, because believe me when I say I cannot puke, I cannot vomit, even if I really, really wish I could. For example, in my youth, when I was drinking a bit too much, and you were like, oh my God, I really would like to, you know, like make some more space in my belly. I just could not. And in this moment I could, because it was, something was taking over.
The power of emotions,
The
right?
power of emotions, exactly. And I really remember how I was thinking, oh my goodness, how, I mean, like, I moved here, I don't have any friends here yet. Where can I stay for a couple of days? You know, like to figure out what I'm going to do next, because of course, I can in no way stay with that man in this house, in this place, when he thinks I'm a disappointment, because I don't want to be a disappointment for anyone. So, but of course, I also realized at one point, I mean, like, I know myself already that there was something not aligned. Like, he said something and I know him and I know how much he loves me. I really know that in my core, and it just didn't fit with these words, and it didn't fit with the reaction that I had afterwards. And also, we have to also say, I mean, like, Bas and I are not native speaking English speakers. So like, also there in the communication can be many like entanglements, or that we don't find the right words, or that they can perceived in a different way. Anyhow, it's like, I went down and I really felt like, okay, we have to talk about that, what just happened.
Yeah, because I remember it a little bit, because I was saying that I felt her as a disappointment, and right after that I explained that it actually had more to do with me, because I had too much expectations. I put some sort of picture over her that I wanted her to be, or that I saw things in her that reminded me of women I had been with in the past, and I wanted to explain that to her. But because this remark, "you are such a disappointment," completely took over, Priska actually emotionally shut down and was not able to hear anymore what I had to say about that, because apparently these words triggered such a deep pain and such a deep inner childhood trauma almost in her, that she completely shut off, and her senses didn't work anymore, because I could not reach her anymore via speech, via touch, via anything.
I was really in my own world. And that's what we want to talk with you about, like this phenomenon. And maybe you can write in the comments if you're listening, if you're live here. By the way, hi to all these women who are live. Maybe you have also had these experiences where you're having, like, somebody says something or something happens in the outside, and you're just totally switching into your own world, and you kind of cut off everything. You're not connected to yourself anymore, to source, to the partner, or to your, it doesn't even have to be your loved one, it can be a teacher, a parent, a friend, somebody, a stranger on the street, it doesn't matter. Just something is happening and it's triggering something deeper within you.
Yeah, and these are mostly situations where like a part of your brain is still like healthily active, and can, as a sort of helicopter, can see what is happening, but the emotions are so strong that they like disable this overview voice. So these are mostly situations where you totally get overtaken, and it also breaks down the ability of the mind to sear over the whole situation and keep control.
It's actually the only part of the brain that is activated is the lizard brain. It's like really this original brain that we have since, like, I think it's since humans exist, and it's like this fight, flight, or freeze kind of part in our brain. So we don't even have access to the whole, is it neocortex? I'm not so very good in like these names, but just the whole, creative thinking, solution-oriented thinking. We don't have access to all these parts, because this is just like, it's like fight, flight, or freeze. You don't have any other options. And this is why I also want to talk in this second video so much more about this, because I think it's so crucial that we all know that we have a trauma, a very, very old trauma over centuries in our DNA. This is why I really, please read this book. But again, we're going to make another video about that. But another thing is also that sometimes in our relationship, something happens, something small, and without going into the details, like I'm just getting triggered, and I feel like this whole like wall of rage coming up, and it's like totally balanced with what is actually happening. It's just a tiny small thing, but this whole thing of emotion just rolls over me, and I know that it's like, in my mind, I know that this is totally not adequate with how I'm reacting right now and what I'm feeling, but the feelings are just taking over. I have no chance to control it, to contain it, to push it away. I don't even want to push it away, because we know that when we push feelings away, that nothing good comes from there. And we have done that all, and we all know it's going to backfire. It's like putting a bunch of wild dogs under a lid, and as soon as you're trying to like open it a little bit, there's such a force that is coming up.
Yeah. So in order to do that, it's crucial to actually dive into the exact difference between feelings and emotions, because this is something that lots of people do not, maybe they know, but they are not aware of in heated situations, which is also kind of logical.
Yeah, we also use it in the same in our everyday language, emotions and feelings, it's the similar thing. And just to put it out there, there are many different
takes on that.
Yes, there are also people who also have much more explain much more like in connection with the brain, but we're trying to break it very easily down, this difference between emotions and feelings.
Yeah, and feelings are actually connected to what happens in the moment. So very simple, when you take a pan that is heated and you feel the ouch, this is happening in a moment. But also when I see something lying on the floor and I don't like that, I can get pissed, I can get annoyed, I can get angry. These are things that happen in a moment. So feelings are really connected to what is happening now.
Or for example, sorry.
No?
When you for example said, I'm disappointed. If it would only have been a feeling for me, I could have said, oh, that hurts. What do you mean by that? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
And I could have stayed there, and it's, like I'm still connected to myself, to my feelings, to him. There's this direct connection, or to anyone who I'm in a conversation with, or I'm in the present. Yep. And it's a whole different story when we're talking about emotions.
Yes, because emotions are attached to things that happened in our past, and mostly attached to situations that have hurt us very deeply. And our brain, our little brain, attaches old stories to the current thing that is happening. What Priska just explained, if it would only be feelings, there would not be such a storm of emotions happening or feelings happening. But the old story of I'm not enough, I'm always too much, I'm boring, I cannot please people, I'm a disappointment. She has heard these things so much in her past, and there have been so many situations in her past where she had to deal with this kind of rejection, that immediately her consciousness hung this story to my words. And therefore it became such an incredibly big thing, actually.
Exactly. Like, to put it very simplified, emotions are unprocessed feelings from the past. Yeah. And of course, it can also be something happy. I mean, like, you can just see something and it reminds you of your childhood, and you feel like all over, like you smell something. We all have these triggers, right? We smell something, and we all of a sudden, we were again in Mallorca, where we had this beautiful vacation, and we fell in love with the beach boy there. I don't know, I make something up. Like, we all have these stories too, but there also are things like, for example, a smell. It can be, for example, a bleach, and you all of a sudden you remember when your dad was sick in hospital, and you feel the panic within you. These are all things that are like connected to the past. And like the first step, of course, we're not therapists, we're not EMDR specialists. We cannot, like, if there really is a trauma, you really have to go into therapy. You have to let yourself find out what is the therapy that can help you. But the first step is already to find out that you are actually linked to the past, that you are repeating stories from the past. And also when you're single and when you're meeting another guy, are you really present with this new man or woman, or are you already attaching whole stories when he or she says something? You're attaching whole stories from your past. Oh, he's again like this, or she's again like that, and I knew everything's like that. So that you're going to repeat an old story, and having this awareness to like really be there present and knowing yourself, okay, what is my story? Where do I'm a very sensitive, for example. And if it's just like a smaller thing, then you maybe can even with your mind control it and work through it and look with yourself later into it, what it actually was about. Because sometimes the clarity about where it's actually coming from already helps.
Yeah.
So like this, sorry.
No.
For this disappointment thing, it helped so much to go back in my pain into this conversation with Bas even though I wanted to just flee and go away and stay, I don't know, at strangers, I didn't care, I just wanted to be away from him. But I knew that there was something deeper than what he said. So this talk with him and him asking questions was, okay, where does this come from? Where did you feel like that? Getting this clarity about where this pain actually was coming from already did so much and released so much within me.
Yeah. And I also have a story there, for example. I was always, as a boy and as a young man, I was awkward because I didn't fit in the status quo or the average. I was not or never an average person. And I had many times situations where I showed up as myself and people did not understand me. People did not see me. People said that I was wrong or that I was too over the place or that I said stuff that wasn't true. So I really took over these things, especially when people that were very close to me said these things. And also this happened quite a lot. And I also saw that in my relationship with Priska, that sometimes she just asks a little thing of me, or she asks if I can tweak it a little bit. And my reaction can be so incredibly over the top there, because my initial childhood trauma, although it sounds very big, gets triggered by that, gets ignited by that. And then I think, you don't see me again. And it hurts because there's sadness under it, under the annoyance, under the frustration and under anger. 99% there's sadness of not being seen for the person that you have been in your childhood. And this automatically comes up, but it's an old story. And since I know it is attached to that, I wouldn't say it is over now, because there still can happen situations where I think, but I'm more aware of it, and therefore I can more smoothly maneuver through it, so I can actually stay better and react better on the feelings that occur in the current moment, instead of hanging myself emotionally to all the old emotions.
Okay, we have a question, I think. Kim, where do you draw the line when another gets very sensitive about a sarcastic joke in dating? Like, when would you say someone is still compatible with you or not?
Where do you draw the line? Get sensitive. So I'm going to translate it into how I get it. You are dating someone, you make some sort of a sarcastic remark, and he reacts way too oversensitive about that. And your question is this a sign or a red flag that this person might not be compatible for you as a life partner? I think you really have to be very connected to your feelings. And if you feel that the reaction of this person, this oversensitive reaction, is a significant thing in him, then you have to respond on that. But it can also be, and that's why I say you really have to tune into it feeling-wise, it can also be that this person in this moment has had a rough day, or that you say something that really is hurtful because it is attached to something that happened in his past. So I think it's really important to feel into it. And if you feel that it's something significant, have a conversation about it. Okay, I just made a sarcastic joke because this is how I am sometimes. And in my opinion, you reacted very sensitive to that. Where does that come from? Can you explain something about that? Because conversation is always an opening to see each other there better.
Yeah, it's really about getting curious. Like, when you see something, it's because obviously he triggered you in a way.
When the other way around. I'm not sure who made the sarcastic joke.
Yeah, so like it's just about getting curious. And of course, like, if you cannot control how the other person is reacting.
No.
And of course, we all have our baggage. We all have our emotions, our unprocessed feelings from the past. So like, really getting curious and being present in it, and instead of just making up your story, because when you just take this and then you run with this story again, you both are stuck in these stories. And the key is to be curious and ask, and maybe you'll find out in this question, okay, he meant it totally differently, or you find out, okay, this person really does not, doesn't have the same
humor.
not humor, did I want to say this, the ethics, or not the same things are important for this person as they are for me.
Yeah.
So I think this is the cool thing in dating, that you can ask questions, that you like try to understand and to get to know this person better. But of course, you know, like that's the thing in these, with these emotions. I mean, like sometimes when you're emotional, this person, no matter who it is on the other side, doesn't understand your crazy reaction to it, because this person doesn't know that you have these triggers. Maybe not even you yourself know that you have these triggers.
Yep.
So something happens in the now, you are snapping in the past, the whole past like floods over you. Or the other person can, of course, totally be the other way around too. But this person doesn't understand your reaction then. And maybe this was the same was happening there, and maybe you said something that triggered something in him. Therefore, this sarcasm, because sarcasm is also a way of protecting yourself. So like that we are just like aware of these dynamics, because we all have them.
Yeah.
If we're aware of it or not, but it's so much powerful if we know about it, that this is happening constantly in our lives, especially when we're like when it's about our love lives, when we're opening up, when like, because I mean, let's face it, we're nowhere as vulnerable as we're in dating and like in our relationships.
Yeah. Plus, when you come in, if you communicate about it, you also create some sort of a safe space where the other person can be.
Yeah.
Where he can expose himself, where he can show himself to you. And this is actually very safe, because this doesn't happen a lot of times, especially in this dating world, when people are not sure what will happen, and lots of people don't show up authentically because they have the feeling they have to be a certain kind of person to be more attractive to the other one. So it's really very powerful if you are able, while dating, to create this safe space where both people can show up vulnerable.
Exactly.
As scary as it is.
Exactly. And I think this is also what we would teach about dating, because like we don't believe in these dating games and about like how long you have to wait until you can answer, and you know, like it's about being curious, it's about being open. And I mean, like it's also okay to say, okay, what you just said kind of triggers me as well. Of course, you don't have to use these words, because it just does something with me, or it makes me angry, maybe, but maybe you want to explain that to me more, you know. But then you also are showing him something of you by showing who you are, what's important to you, what your standards are. Exactly. So this is when you also give yourself a chance to step up, and when you are opening up, if you are like showing who you truly are, then the other person like has much more also the chance to open up to you.
And it's also a way to heal what we talked about, these old emotions that influence current situations because they overtake the whole Shazam. By feeling a space where you can actually talk about it without getting rejected or getting slapped on your fingers. It's also a moment where you can heal this. And of course, not in one date, your whole childhood trauma will be away, but it's about practicing, it's about exercising, it's about daring to step over the threshold and talk about these things. And then you also find out that it doesn't have so much power over you anymore, these old stories, these old emotions.
True.
Yeah.
So if there are any questions about that, because we talked now for over 20 minutes about these feelings and emotions, and how you're stuck in them, or we are stuck in them, please let us know, because it's a very complex topic.
Yep.
I mean, like, I could say so much more about. I could say so much more, because my first education was actually an emotion coach, so I know a lot about emotions. But like when I found this out, something really changed within me. Also, like next to the thing when I realized that I was not my emotions, because I constantly identified with my emotions or my feelings, because like, and by the way, just again another bracket, we also mix up emotions and feelings when we're talking. You know, it's just now for you to say, but we also sometimes say emotion when it's actually feeling, or feeling when it's emotion, because it's just how we use, like how everybody uses the language. So we don't distinguish when we're in general talking about emotions and feelings about between these two things. But now in this thing, it's important.
Yeah. So we also want to invite you to think this week, or after seeing this video, to think and feel into yourself, okay, where do I still have old stories or old emotions that take over in situations where it's actually not about that, although it is connected, of course, otherwise it wouldn't come up. And what you could do about that? Because we can give you whole teachings what you have to do in these situations, but it's also good to first feel into yourself, okay, when this old story takes over, when it takes me out of my own control, my own vortex, my own alignment, what can I personally do to diminish this, or to heal this old emotion, or to not let this emotion take over all the time in certain situations. So this is some sort of a exercise maybe for this week. Yeah. And please, if you have examples, please write them in the comments, because we love to interact with you, and we really love to hear your stories as well.
Exactly. And again, if it's something that runs too deep, it's always good to go to a professional to look at that, to make whatever therapy you need to get rid of these old stories. It's always good to reconnect with your body, because nowadays we are constantly in our heads, because we're constantly, it's like this way where we flee to out of the emotions into our head, out of the emotions into our head. But exactly in this place, we can't flee, because the emotions are so big, they're so powerful, they just take over.
Yes,
yeah, this is
right,
why relationships are so powerful. We really believe it's a way to heal the world. Relationships are the place where
via
we can
yourself.
heal. Of course, in the end, it's always about ourselves, because the thing is, we're in a relationship to mirror stuff to each other. And of course, it's also beautiful, and we heal also like with the whole love vibe that you can send out. But in the end, it's always about us. It's about your personal happiness, because it's not about, we don't care in the end if you're in a relationship or not, as long as you're happy, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that very often when we have a desire, it's also meant for us to be. And therefore, when you have the desire of being in a relationship, that's what you need to have. And if you're having the desire of like having a healthy relationship, then it's also something that is so worth working on and like spending your energy on.
Yep. Please, I'm just going to say one more thing that just popped up, because sometimes, for example, if you are in a situation where you constantly attract certain people into your life, lots of times this also has to do with these old stories. And therefore, if you are in this dynamic that you constantly get people into your life where you think, again, I think I already went through this, why is this keep coming back? Then there is still this old story, this old emotional bundle. It's still attached to you, and it's a great way to look into these patterns and how you can release yourself from that. So this is one last thing I wanted to say. And I'm going to make later in the week, I'm going to make a very short video about what I'm going to say about now.
Ooh, I don't even know what you're going to say.
Because we have lots of new ladies in the group, which is incredible. Thank you very much for coming here. And I hope you will feel incredibly welcomed here. I think there are over 30 new women. We made some posts where we welcome them and where we give them a free gift. And there are only 2 women thus far who have taken the gift. And my question to you is, why is this? Has it to do with that you have a difficulty of receiving? I'm very curious about that, because it's a free gift. Please take it, because you can only benefit from it and you don't have to give anything in return. It's just a free, beautiful gift.
And it's a really powerful gift.
A powerful gift that we want to give to you for coming into this group. So please, just take it. And I'm going to make another video about this, because I'm not sure everybody will watch this one. So this.
Okay, we're closed. Thank you so very much for being here. Thank you very much for being part of this community.
Yeah.
And as always, if there are questions, if there are if you want to share your own experience, this is the word I'm looking for, please be welcome to always do so.
Yeah, and also you don't always have to react on things we post. You can also post yourself in this group.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you. Have a wonderful week, and we see us in a week again. And Bas is going to make another video, obviously.
Yep.
And thank you so much for being here. So much love your way.
Bye-bye.
Bye.